All right, everyone. I am so excited for you guys to be joining us today for this guest expert training with Courtney Sanders. And Courtney Sanders is an online entrepreneur, speaker, and influencer to millennial women who put a fresh spin on women's empowerment. Known for her ability to break complex concepts down in a fresh and relatable way, Courtney provides online and in-person training on a variety of topics, including entrepreneurship and personal development. Courtney has been featured on Forbes.com and in Black Enterprise. She has also served as a featured guest speaker at the White House for the Obama administration's Council on Women and Girls and at the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. And I'm so excited to have you here today because, I mean, first of all, how I found you is just a great example of how visibility works. And the summer camp is all about helping women entrepreneurs become more visible. And, you know, the way it works is it has like a snowball effect. I found you on the Get Paid podcast. I listened to your episode. So then I followed you on Instagram and invited you to do this. And I think that's what's so exciting, you know, and, you know, speaking on a podcast is a form of speaking, but it really just starts as one thing and then spreads. So Courtney, thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that bio or that I missed?
No, that was long enough. It's always weird having your bio read, so.
I know, right? It's always like a little bit like, oh,
yeah.
Sometimes I don't look at mine in so long and I'm like, oh my gosh. So Courtney, tell us a little bit about how you first got involved in speaking, what your background is, and why you decided to start using speaking.
Yeah, I kind of fell into this on accident. So I got started in this 10 years ago in college. I was a student interested in entrepreneurship, and some of the administrators threw my name in the hat for this conference that was flying out a bunch of girls who were, you know, students and interested in entrepreneurship for this really big women's conference. And so I got to go. I did a really good job while I was there in terms of the activities and networking and everything. And on the last day, someone was like, hey, we need someone to thank the sponsors for this conference. And we thought it'd be a great idea if, you know, we had one of the students do it. So would you be interested in doing this? And I was like, oh, sure, not recognizing that they wanted me to do it on literally the last night in the main ballroom when there are like 6,000 people there, these like huge corporate sponsors like Home Depot, Pepsi, or whatever. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought this was going to be like a little closed door meeting where I just stand up on a podium and say, oh, thank you. I didn't know I was going to be like addressing an entire crowd. So it was definitely trial by fire, having to like craft a speech and do that so young in front of so many people. But once I did it, I was pretty much hooked. I saw the opportunities that it opened, even way back then. And so I kept those networks going while I was working my full-time job after I graduated from school. And when I moved to a new city and I knew that I needed to grow my audience, the first thing that came to mind was, you should start speaking. So I actually hosted my own event in Dallas. I had moved from Washington, D.C. to Dallas. It was a new city. I didn't know anybody here. I hosted my first event, just speaking on the topics that I was passionate about. That got me a small list going, and I just kept touring pretty much the country, paying it my own way. I didn't have a lot of sponsors or anything, but I would just speak, and I'd go to Atlanta here, Chicago there. And pretty soon people saw me speaking. They saw a lot of the programs that I was doing online, and then they started to invite me to speak on their stages. And so from there, it kind of snowballed, and I became a speaker. It wasn't something I went to school for or trained. That's just something I did to get my name out there.
And I feel like that's what happens a lot with getting speaking opportunities. I feel like an opportunity could just come out of nowhere for it. And it really is something that I think people should just kind of grab and figure out how to do after. Like, I think once you just accept the opportunity, that you can figure out how to make it happen. Like, you can get around it. I don't think you always need to know exactly how to speak or how to craft a talk before you take advantage of the opportunity. If it
right. For sure.
So tell us, a lot of this audience is service providers. They're people who really are working one-to-one with clients, but want to reach more people. They have such important messages. They have such important, trainings and education and backgrounds and their own methodologies of helping people. So, I feel like speaking is really an opportunity to get it out there. What types of speaking engagements should people be looking for?
Yeah, the main thing that you want to focus on is your target market going to be in the audience. So I know a lot of times we get really flattered, like, oh, someone wants to have me come out and speak, and it seems really good. Maybe you want to get into speaking, you're like, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity for me to brush up on my speaking chops. And while all that is great, if you want to use it as a tool to grow your business, it's really important that you're looking at engagements that are actually going to have your target market in the audience. So I remember when I first started getting speaking, I would post on Facebook like, hey guys, I'm speaking. If you know anybody who needs a speaker, let me know. And some of the initial events that people were throwing my way were like, oh, do you want to go to this high school and speak here? There's these kids, and I felt bad because I was like, well, I am new and I want to brush up, but I had to decline those because high school students aren't buying my programs. Neither are the administrators really at high school. So from the very beginning, I was focused on, is my audience going to be in the audience? And if so, then I'd be willing to speak there.
Yeah, for sure. So, and also for you guys who are on, just a reminder, feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat box, and I will be reading them to Courtney. We'll go over them as we go through this. And for those of you who are watching the replay, same thing, like feel free to drop in any questions you have throughout. Let us know you're watching the replay. And I'll be coming back and checking and interacting with you guys in case something's missed. So how can you really put yourself out there for those engagements? And once you start knowing, like, if you're clear on your target audience, how do you find the speaking opportunities? And I feel like, I think this is a two-part question for people who are starting out, like with speaking or even in the earlier years of their business, should they be looking for a particular kind of event or speaking event versus someone who's further in, has a bigger audience, or, has more developed business already?
Yeah, some of the easiest events to speak at are, virtual events like this one. I feel like this counts as speaking, but then also conferences. So in the very beginning, I would go on Eventbrite and I would like type in like women's empowerment, whatever. So whatever your engagement is, maybe you're a health coach or something, and you just go on Eventbrite and look up, fitness boot camp or something. You can kind of be creative and make your own speaking engagement, where if you see an event that's happening locally in your area, pitch that person. And in the beginning you want to be willing to do it for free, because the whole value add is the target market is going to be seeing you and you're going to get that visibility. But just pitch them, even if it's not technically a speaking engagement. Say, hey, I noticed that you were hosting this event. I didn't see any speakers, or I saw that you had speakers, but all the speakers you have speak on this topic. Nobody's speaking on this topic. I'd love to come in and share. Boom, boom, boom. Make sure you have your bullet points already outlined. I see a lot of people pitch and they're like, oh, I'd love to speak. I could speak about this topic and this topic. If you're going to pitch yourself, say, this is a topic that I could speak at that I think would be great for this particular event. Here are the high level bullet points. I would love to come in and speak about that. And I find that if you go for some of like the local events that individuals or small business owners are putting on in your city, they're more receptive to having you come out. And that's a great way to kind of develop your chops, so that later when you want to go for some of like the bigger conferences, like a, Create and Cultivate, or, something big on a national stage, you can show them that you have experience. Maybe you have a video reel now where you've captured that. But in the beginning, just getting pitched or pitching Eventbrite events, I find are really, really helpful.
Yeah. And I love that because, it does narrow it down. Like, using Eventbrite, you can really look in your area. And, I think the other thing too, a lot of times is, I think that we think it's so hard to figure out, or we think everybody's invited to speak, but a lot of times it is just like putting yourself out there and applying for it, and kind of like going to the conferences and saying like, looking, and they usually have the directions like right on there.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. You can pitch companies too. I mean, we tend to think speaking is just like conferences, but a lot of organizations will have speakers come in to do internal topics or trainings for the employee. So I have a friend who is a speaker as well, and she's in personal finance, and all the time she pitches companies and she's like, hey, do you want me to come in and do a personal finance training for your employees? And so that's a captive audience of 100, 200, 300 people. And when they leave work, they have your information. They're still going to be Googling you, going on your website. You can develop a relationship with them even outside of work, and they can still become your clients. She gets a ton of clients that way. So
right. And she
think outside of the box.
Initially reaches out to the companies herself.
Yep.
Even like they're searching her out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in health and wellness originally, and I think that is a great place to really go get opportunities. I know, actually, honestly, I live in a big apartment building, and we have like classes every month. They host like
Yeah.
classes and events for us, and I think it's always an opportunity too if you're doing some kind of, if you have like an interactive workshop or something like that, to these management companies have like tons of buildings and stuff like that, and are looking to bring people in. So what are some of the more out of the box speaking engagements you've seen?
Oh man, out of the box speaking engagements, definitely those corporate trainings, because a lot of people don't think about that. College administration ones, speaking to the administrators, not just to the staff. So a lot of times we think like, oh, school's out for the summer and there's no opportunities to speak. You'd be surprised that the administrators, so the faculty and student loan officers, whatever, these are adult people. In my case, it's adult women, who need help with a lot of their personal development stuff. Again, if you're in health and wellness or finance, they might need help with whatever. And so a lot of times, colleges and universities, they hold a lot of personal development or wellness or these type of trainings in the summer, because things are slow, there's not as many students, and they just want to make sure that their faculty is like ready to go when the school year hits. So that's a lot of people don't think about that, but that's a good way to kind of get your speaking chops and, again, find your target market. So I'm just trying to think out of the box.
And I love that too, because I've been in contact and I've done like just little talks, but for the own schools that you are an alumni of, I think it's easy. I always recommend go to alumni events, because the school wants to support you. Like, they want to support their alumni, they want to see their alumni doing well, and they want to hear from you. So I think that's like an easy, like, if for those of you who are nervous about pitching people, that's kind of easy in.
Yeah. Another great one is in your city, look at different professional networks. So are there like, I live in Houston, so like Houston Society of Accountants, or SHROOM is a big one, Society of Human Resource Management. Every city has a local chapter. Just go on their website and see if you could speak to human resource managers. Again, because human resource managers are in charge of bringing trainings for all these different corporations. So even if you're like, oh, but I talk about health and wellness or whatever, still do a presentation, target it towards human resources, and say, oh, how to stay healthy, while at your desk at work or something like that, and get them excited where they're like, what, we'd love to bring you in to our big, corporation and have you speak to our, 1,000 employees about how to stay healthy at work. So there's all these different ends. And I just generally find that people don't take advantage of their local city enough, whether it's the Eventbrite things. I think
especially when we're trying to scale online, we really forget you could get so much quicker impact locally, because people see you, they meet you, and then know like
so many resources. Look up your SBA, or each city has like a city department that works for like small businesses. So I know here in Houston, there's like a monthly small business breakfast where I'm like, I just moved here, but I'm going because I'm like, oh, I want to see what type of business owners are there, and is there some type of speaking I can do that can help them. So yeah, there's all kind of stuff.
And truthfully too, for those of you who are like, well, I'm in a small town, or I'm in a not as busy area, like I know for me, like they have county-wide ones. So, they're still bringing in bigger groups of people, but it might not be like a city like Houston, but it could be your whole county has organizations. Like we have Professional Women's Network. And honestly, like once again, they have the application like right on there. Is there anything, like when you're cold pitching people, is there anything you should do? Should you call? Should you email them? Should you contact them through LinkedIn? What's the best way?
I do email. Now I will find people's contact off LinkedIn. So my process is like go on LinkedIn. I kind of use it like a company directory. I'll look up a company, a conference, any organization, whatever I'm looking for. Usually you can find someone who you think is responsible for bringing in speakers. So I'll find that person's first and last name. And then I use their websites that'll help you guess email addresses. So one that I really love is called hunter.io. So I'll go on hunter.io, I'll put in the organization name, and then it'll tell you like, oh, it's normally first dot last name at organization. And then they even have a little email verifier where you can put your guess in. So you could say, Sherry.Smith at xyzorganization.com, and it'll tell you if that's a valid email address or not. So once I have that email, then all I do is I send an email and I'm like, hi, who's in charge of bringing speakers for XYZ conference, if it's a conference that I'm pitching, or if it's a company, who's in charge of bringing trainers for your women's empowerment group or your millennial development or your whatever, like whatever it is you speak on, your health and wellness program. And then I just wait for them to reply, and they'll say, oh, I'm in charge, or XYZ person is in charge. And then if they say they're in charge or XYZ person is in charge, I either email that person or reply back to them. And then I'm like, hi, this is who I am. This is what I can do. And the main thing when you're pitching, never do generalities. Like everybody, I find when they pitch, they make the other person do the hard work. So it's like, oh, I speak about health and wellness. I would love to come and do a health and wellness training at your conference. And it's like, okay, you're going to make them do the work to come up with the health and wellness training. Like you should do the work. You could say, oh, I saw your conference. I saw last year you had XYZ speaker who spoke about, mindfulness. I speak about, whatever it is you speak about.
And try to find a different angle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I do. I look at people who spoke last year, and then I say, oh, I noticed they spoke on this topic last year, but they didn't speak on blah, 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 whatever it is that I speak on. And so you can say, so I would love to come in and cover this area, but instead tackle it from this angle. And specifically, this is the topic that I'm thinking about. And these are the 3 bullet points or the 5 bullet points that I'd really like to cover. This is the benefit that's going to provide to your audience. And, I've worked with clients in the past, and when I've covered this information, these are the results that they've gotten. So I try to do it that way, and just, continue to follow up with people.
Yes, totally. And do you follow up when you don't hear from people? Because I think that this is where, so I always like to put this out there because like, I know my clients are like, follow up, you know what I mean? Like it's already uncomfortable enough to make the pitch, right? And we
follow up. I follow up until they tell me basically to go away.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and the following up doesn't, like in the beginning, you're going to follow up and you're like, hey, I just wanted to make sure you saw this email. Hey, is this what but if you've done a few of those and they still haven't responded, then I just follow up with like general information. Like for a while I was doing a millennial development for like corporations or whatever, and I was pitching myself to come in and speak that way. So I might follow up, hey, are you still interested in millennial development? Hey, did you see my email? Da, da, da. After 3 or 4 of those, they don't answer. Maybe now I just follow up my 5th email. I'm just following up with an email article from Harvard Business Review that talks about why millennials are quitting their jobs. And I'm like, oh man, I saw this and I thought of you. It's got some really great tips, whatever. I hope you enjoy, so
if you've never had any contact with the person.
Yep. Yeah.
I want to make this very clear for people because they're always like, when it comes to follow up and pitching yourself, I think like we try to talk ourselves out of it a lot. So it's good to be really clear and see like, this is how you do it. And this is someone, Courtney's already speaking and she's still, you're still pitching yourself, right?
Yeah. Now my mentor will send his book in the mail to people like he's never met before. So, I mean, you can get really, you think like sending a few emails is like, I know people who are like FedExing like whole packages to people that they want to get in front of. So yeah, follow up.
I always like to stress this because I think like we get to that first point where we're like, we get out of our comfort zone and we're like, that's gotta work. That was so uncomfortable. And it really is about being in it for the long haul and not just committing to that first pitch, but committing to following that process through until you get a yes or a no.
Yep.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about, now you have a speaking event and you want to take advantage of it, right? You don't want to just go and talk to them and then like never see them, hear from them again, right?
Yeah.
So how do you then get this audience of potentially ideal clients to then follow you out of that speaking event?
Yeah, it starts with your topic. So you don't just want to speak generally about your topic. You want to speak about a particular result or a tantalizing tidbit that they didn't know, that when they listen to your topic, they'll be like, oh man, I need this, service or this product. So I saw in the chat, someone was saying that they have a skincare brand and they were wondering, how that fits. This is a perfect example of this. So if I were the CEO of a skincare brand and I was going to be speaking at a women's empowerment conference, I might not talk about like skincare products per se, but I might talk about how your appearance, makes the difference, or how people judge you within 5 seconds. And, the top 5 things every female entrepreneur needs to have on point with her physical appearance in order to, attract clients. So, I might talk about, style and everything, but then I might shift my talk to be like, well, your physical glow and your health, people judge you off of your skincare, and I might go into detail about that. So little things that kind of like make people go, I didn't know that, or that was interesting, or they should always walk away with a tidbit or a new twist on something that they didn't know. And so now they're like, wow, I didn't know that. I need to get my skincare together. Well, that's naturally, now they're like, where do I do that? And it's like, oh, by the way, if you're interested in this, I have something that that can help you with that. And so then at the end of my talks, I like to provide a freebie that helps them continue the conversation, essentially, because most talks, it's like 30 to 45 minutes. You're not going to be able to go in depth. So you just want to kind of cover the high points and, again, give them that tantalizing tidbit where they're like, man, she made me think about something in a way that I hadn't thought of before. And so at the end, I just have people like text. I used to do like, write your email down, which, you can still do. It's kind of old school, and people's handwriting might not be that great. So everybody has their phone towards the end of my talk, but before the very end, because at the very end, people are kind of leaving and rustling or whatever. So usually like right before my last point or right before like the climax of my talk, I'll tell people like, get out your phones, and I'll make it look like it's going to be a part of the presentation. I'll be like, okay, go to your messaging app. Okay, I want you to text this, number, 6644, whatever. So, we only have 10 minutes left. I'm going to, tell you one thing that you can do to whatever, increase your skincare or something like that. But if you want more information, I actually have 5 more tips that I didn't have time to share today. And so if you text this word to this number, it's going to send you an email with, all of those tips following up. So do it now before this is over, just so you don't forget. And then I roll into like the rest of my talk. So I've had as much as like 100% of the room, text in and follow up. And now they're on my email list. And so now I'm able to follow up and, give them more in depth about my products or services.
Yes. Now, what, like, one, I know people are going to be curious, like what tool you're using for that, for the
Oh, yeah. It's called Textiful, Textiful.
Okay. And does that automatically get them on your email list, or is it like then you have to, it like
Nope, automatically does. It integrates with everything, MailChimp, ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, whatever you use. They just text a keyword to a number, and then it collects all their information, and then they get the emails, and they're all set up.
Was what texting service? I knew that was going to come up.
Yeah.
Well, Chrissy, I will post the link in the group for sure. So that is awesome. One, that you're doing that throughout that. And, I think too, having that freebie and saying what they're going to get is important, and making sure it's connected to the topic, that it's not just like, any old freebie. So you guys, it sounds like if you don't have a freebie that's going to be connected to the topic, you've got to create a new one.
Yeah. And if you're a service provider, your freebie could just be as simple as a 20-minute, consultation, or, 20-minute. I like assessments. I feel like consultations, people are like, well, I don't know, but everybody loves an assessment, so a 20-minute health and wellness assessment or something, or 20-minute time management assessment for busy moms, or whatever it is that you offer. Yeah.
Right. Perfect. So that's a great option as well. And then the other thing is, are you able to always do that? Do you get permission first?
Yeah, most organizers are cool with it. Obviously, you ask and you want to include that in your terms, especially if you're speaking for free. Like, I'm not going to speak unless I'm allowed to do that, even in the beginning. Now, I will even still require a fee, and, still require that they allow me to do this. But if you are speaking for a fee, this is a great leveraging tool. So if you're going back and forth with somebody and you're like, my fee is X, Y, and Z, and they're like, oh, our budget is this. Is there any way we could work it out? This is something you can throw in there. You can say, well, I normally charge X, Y, Z dollars. Your budget is this. So I tell you what, I'm willing to meet you halfway in the middle if you will allow me to offer this, whatever at the end. So always get permission to do it, but use it as a leveraging tool when you speak.
Yeah. So that's really, really important to just kind of remember, is that you do want to, be giving the people a heads up that you're doing that. And, I do think, I agree, it's better to like, now what if people, do you feel that texting is better versus, I get signing the list, but what if you were like, hey, go here and sign up for this freebie, go to the link?
Yeah, you can do that. I've done that in the past or before I found it, but I just found that the texting is like, it's so spot. Everybody has their phone in their hand. Everybody does it. Like you said, pull out your phones. Everybody pulls out their phone, because while you're on stage, it's kind of like you're in charge. It's like Simon Says, So if you say, turn to your neighbor and say, you're amazing, they're going to do it. So you can kind of I find that you can kind of blend it in with like whatever activities you're already having them do as a part of your speaking topic.
Mm-hmm. And are you also including a slide with like your contact information?
Yeah. It depends. Most speaking engagements do allow me to have, slides, but some, especially if it's like a smaller networking event, they might not have, slides and video and all that. And it's just me talking. So that's another reason why I really like the texting, because you can walk them through it, pull out your phone. Okay, text this number versus saying, okay, go to CourtneyLSanders.com / and they have to remember all that. So
yeah, totally. So that's really good to know, guys. And if you guys have any questions about that, drop that in there. So now that you have them, you're building them to your audience, you're getting them back to, your list. Do you do something different with that? Do you kind of just continue to nurture them automatically? Do you have like an email sequence set up?
Yeah, I have email sequences set up. I have a main email sequence for just, anybody who drops in my list, but depending on the type of event, if I've done my research ahead of time and I know it's going to be this specific type of, target market, I might create a different nurture sequence just for those people. Maybe I'm giving them a special discount on a particular product or something just for being a part of this event. So I'll set up the emails that way to kind of help them with that.
Yeah. Now, how can you turn those audience members into sales?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I like to think of it in terms of continuing the conversation. So your speech is essentially a conversation starter. And so your email sequence is continuing the conversation. So you also want to keep in mind when you're thinking about the audiences, where are they in terms of being warm, hot, or cold in terms of your particular service that you offer. So, we've been using the health and wellness example. I would say a cold audience is let's say you do, because I did this, I had my son a year ago, and I'm thinking about like a chiropractor who did chiropractic for like, pregnant women, or I didn't know that was a thing until I became pregnant. So let's say you're speaking to a women's group or whatever. Now, if it's an audience of women who have no idea that chiropractic is even like, can be something that's used for pregnancy, then my email sequence is going to be a little different. So my topic was the conversation starter to let them know, to give them that, tantalizing tidbit, like, oh, did you know that chiropractic can help you have an easier pregnancy? Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Right. I was totally oblivious. And so now my email sequence is more warming them up to the different types of chiropractic that could be done, the things you should keep in mind, and why my particular solution is the best solution for them. Now, if maybe I'm speaking to, I'm at like a yoga class or something like that, and I'm speaking to pregnant women who already know about chiropractic or whatever. Now my topic is going to be a little different. Maybe it's not going to be just, oh, did you know chiropractic is good for pregnancy? Now it might be like the different types of chiropractic that every pregnant woman should consider. And then my email sequence is now going to be tailored from that. So now they're thinking about the different types. And now I'm in my email sequence talking about, why mine is better than the competition, because they might already be aware of the competition, So the email sequences I tailor based on the awareness of the audience and their awareness of my topic, my solution, that kind of thing.
Right. Now, so then are you just selling through the emails after, or are you selling on stage as well?
It depends. I typically only sell like lower price programs, books. Typically when you sell from stage, people want to buy things that they can walk away with. So you're not going to want to sell like one-on-one coaching services or group programs, even if it's a digital product, or like a course or something like that, you want to sell like a bundle, or like, you're going to walk away with this thing from the stage. If you have something more higher end or more one-on-one, you're not going to want to sell it from the stage. You're going to want to sell that consultation or whatever that entry point is into your sales process from the stage.
Okay. And I mean, and I think too, that's another thing, you guys get permission or find out the rules from the organizer.
Yeah, because some events are no sell, which is fine, but you can, even if it's like, okay, I can't sell, can I offer something for free? So, you want to make sure you're working that in.
And if you have a choice, would you prefer to just offer the free thing and try to get more people back into your audience versus?
Most of the time, I would say 80% of the time, yeah, free. Right. You actually make more money offering the free thing from the stage than you do the paid thing. Only time that's not the case is if the event is like super targeted and full of like people who are like are there to buy something, essentially. Like they're showing up because they're like, let's say you're a business coach or whatever, and you're at a business conference for people who are like actively on site, tailored, like working on their business, then it might be advantageous for you to sell something because they're like hot and they're looking for something. But generally when you're speaking to like, you know, locally audiences where it's like your target market, but it's not so tailored down, it's better for you to kind of pitch something free.
Now, let me ask you this. You know, I think that, what do you do about charging, or when are you ready to start charging?
Yeah, well, again, it goes back to your strategy. So for me, I charge for speaking because it's actually one of my revenue streams. Like as of the many things that I do, I am actually a speaker. So many times there are topics or talks that I give that aren't, the topic isn't designed to like get my target market in the door so I could sell them something on the back end. Like I'm actually selling the topic to the corporation or the conference, and I'm just getting paid for that. So it really depends on kind of what you have the time for. A lot of people, they're like, I only have time to speak if I'm accessing my target market and getting them to buy my program. So in that case, you might not want to charge for speaking. You might only want to do speaking engagements where it's your exact target market, and then you're going to get them on the back end to buy your thing. But if you want to include speaking as an additional revenue stream for you and you have time to do that, then that's a road where you have to like position yourself as a speaker. So I started charging once, obviously I had a few speaking engagements under my belt, but really when I had good footage, that's like the first thing. So speaking organizers, there's speaking organizers who are looking just for someone to like fill the time. And then there's speaking organizers who are specifically looking for someone who can speak knowledgeably about a topic, be entertaining. You know, they need a speaker, like someone who's like good at this. So they're going to be looking for video footage to verify that you're good at what you say you're good at. So I even if I wanted to charge, I couldn't charge until I had good footage showing me, you know, demonstrating, you know, my speaking ability. Yeah.
And how much does it cost to get a speaker reel, or how many like speaking engagements?
Oh, not that much. I think if you have if you can get 3 speaking engagements under your belt with good footage, so I'm saying, and good footage is really just footage better than a cell phone camera. It doesn't have to be like super professional. So if you can just bring maybe have like a DSLR, a nice camera, and you just buy a tripod off Amazon and just sit in the back of the room, that's good footage. So anything better than a cell phone video for 3 speaking engagements, that's enough to start your speaking reel. My speaking reel was super inexpensive. I actually, there was a guy that was a part of like our newlywed group at church who like, you know, did this as a side hustle. And I was like, hey, I got this speaking engagement, you know, do you mind coming up and bringing all your like video gear and shooting me? So he did, he put it together. It was like a few $100. So even if you don't know someone, you can shoot the footage yourself and pay like $100 or $200 on whatever, Fiverr or Upwork, you know, have some Craigslist, have somebody put it together for you. So it's pretty inexpensive.
How do you decide your speaker fees? Are you know, because I know there's always a lot of like, they try to find out your fee, you're trying to find out their budget. Have you found a process for that?
Yeah, I find in the beginning when you're speaking to like very small groups, nonprofit, their budgets are around like, they're paying you in the hundreds, right? They're like, oh, we have $250. Like, do you mind? We have $500. Do you mind? So if you're there and people are just kind of offering you whatever you have, that's a good place to start. But I find that the next scale that you want to get up to is like 1,500. You know, you want to charge, if you can get around 1,500, then that means like you're speaking part-time, like you're doing pretty good at this. From there, I find that the range is between 3,500 to 5,000 if you have serious speaking under your belt, you have that video footage, you have some credibility where you can say, oh, I've spoken at this event and this event, I've been featured in this magazine. Like when you start to have features, you've spoken on bigger stages and you have features, that's when you can move up to like the 3, 4, 5,000 range. I find that it's difficult to get beyond 5,000 if you don't have a book published on your speaking topic. Even if it's not a bestseller, even if only your mom bought it, you need that book to have like that credibility. So that's what I mean. That's why I'm saying, you know, people are like, oh, I want to start charging for speaking. You have to determine if this is a serious revenue stream and a career path that you really want to go down. Because if it is, there is work on the back end in terms of your positioning, your marketing, your website has to look a certain way. You got to publish a book. You know, if you don't want to do all that, you just want to speak to get clients. None of that is necessary. You can just speak for free and sell them on the back end. So it really depends on what career path you want.
And if you are charging for speaking, like what's a good number of speaking engagements to really aim for per year, per month?
I mean, it really depends on your schedule. So in the beginning, I like to shoot for like one a month, you know, especially locally. If you're doing like local speaking engagements, that's pretty easy. I know some people who are on the road all the time and they go for one a week. So yeah, if you're trying to be a serious speaker, I think 10 engagements a year is like
Yeah.
really, really good. Yeah, and that's pretty good money if you're getting paid thousands of dollars to do that.
And does the book need to be, could it be self-published? Because nowadays it's
Yeah, most speaker books are self-published, so yeah, it doesn't need to be like from a professional publisher.
yeah, that's what
And
I
it should look professional, but it doesn't
yeah,
have to be professional.
right. That's what I've been seeing at a lot of events, of a lot of conferences or things that I've been going to, is that, you know, everybody has a book and they're kind of including it. So you're automatically like getting a copy of the book.
And that's something that you can negotiate in terms of your speaking fees. That's another reason why. So it gives you credibility and allows you to increase your fees, but also it's a bargaining tool. So if you're working with a conference organizer and you're like, I have this published book, my speaking fee is, you know, $6,000, and they're like, oh, we only have $4,000. Now you can say, okay, well, tell you what, I'm willing to do 4,500 if you can buy, you know, 100 copies of my book. You know, your book only costs you $3, but you're like, I'll sell them to you at cost, you know, for $6. Now you're making $3 per, that's an extra 300, you know, bucks or whatever. So you can like pad that in and make it a part of your fees.
Are there any other ways or any other things that you can kind of get included to increase your fees or increase your profits from speaking?
Oh yeah. So this is why I really like speaking to corporations. Conferences are good, but conferences are more like one time or once a year. Corporations are good because they don't just need you to speak, they need you to train and to coach, you know? So you can come in and maybe do like a lunch and learn to like a women's group about health and wellness or something, but then you can also negotiate, how about I do follow-up consultations with, you know, all 30 of the women in the legal department, you know, for the next 3 months. That's something else you can add in. So you can do multiple departments, you can add in coaching, consultations, assessments, like there's all kind of stuff that you can build in when you're doing speaking at corporations.
And what about expenses? Do you ask for that separately? Do you include it in your package? Is it just kind of one of those things to make
my preference is I like travel expenses separate. I don't want to have to cover that. So I always say my speaking fee is exclusive of, you know, flight, hotel, rental car, you know, that kind of thing. However, there are some conference organizers or speakers who are organizers who prefer to have an all-inclusive fee. So if that's the case, then, you know, that's fine. But now I'm padding that into my speaking fee. But typically I prefer if they take care of it.
Okay, so it's all kind of like depends. Let me just check over some of the questions we have for you. And for you guys who are on, definitely drop your questions in too. So for newer speakers, how can you be engaging? What do you recommend? How to like with that comfort?
Really, the easiest way to be engaging is to tell, you know, show, don't tell. So, you know, show via stories. I think sometimes we forget like how engaging stories are. Everybody loves a good story. So, you know, when you're first speaking, think about having 3 points and make sure that you have 3 stories to tie to each of those points, and just, you know, really work on being a good storyteller. I like to get the audience involved. So I don't like just like, oh, I'm just going to speak for 30 minutes and then, okay, bye. Or I'll take questions at the end. I like to kind of walk the aisles and say, okay, everybody, I want you to, you know, stop and think about this in your head. I want you to list the 3 things that are, you know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to think about it. And, you know, right. Okay, turn to your neighbor and, you know, so you get them involved. Yeah, then it tends to be more engaging.
And do you do separately like talks and workshops? Like, cause there, you know, there's options for both. So do you prefer one over the other?
Yeah, I just tend to be more of like a workshop style speaker, just because that's how I learned. I'm very like hands-on. So even my talks are workshop oriented in the sense where I'm gonna have you do something like while I'm talking. But you know, if I'm doing a real workshop, that's when I have like worksheets and people are doing things and I'm giving them time. But it really just depends on your speaking style. Some people are super humorous and they never, like the audience never engages with them. They just like crack jokes and tell stories and the audience laughs and it's great. So you just really have to know your strength and kind of work that into your.
Now, that actually brings up a question that, thank goodness you said that, because I was thinking this before and then forgot. Do you bring handouts for everybody? Is that separate? Does it depend? I know some people love to ask for the slides kind of deal.
All of that I build into my fee, you know.
Okay.
So because before they'd be like, oh, we want you to do worksheets. I was running around trying to find Kinko's in the city, printing out all this stuff, spending all this money, and I was like, why did I cover this? Like, this needs to be a part of my fee. So yeah, I have separate fees where it's like, if you just want me to show up and do up to 45 minutes of an educational, you know, session or whatever, it's this price. If you want worksheets and all this, is this price. If you want follow-up discussions, you want me to follow up with your people, it's this price. So I put a price tag on all of it.
You kind of put it on everything. And I mean, it definitely sounds like you're definitely in that position now to do that. For people who are newer, what should they be thinking of? Should they just be asking these questions or just kind of putting out limits? Because I think it is important because, you know, I know just even with the slides thing, you're giving out your work then to people.
Yeah, I tend not to give out slides, but in the beginning, I have come up with my own worksheets in the sense that it was almost like a lead magnet, you know? So I would design the worksheet where it's like, okay, fill in this information. And then, okay, at the end, then I'm including the link in the URL to like my, you know, opt-in website where they can get the answer. Maybe I do a worksheet and it's a quiz. And if you want to know if this is correct, go to this, you know, link and then get the answer. So if you're doing this stuff for free in the beginning, it still needs to be to your advantage. So orient everything to collecting contact information so that you could sell on the back end later.
Right. So Bethany said, and Bethany, I know you asked the best way to find available events, and we actually covered that in the beginning. So I'm going to post the replay and you could check it out, but there's a variety of ways to use Eventbrite and look at local networks and things like that. And now Bethany's asking, how many pages is your speakers packet that you send to organizers?
I think mine is like 3 pages. I think like 2 to 4, I would say, is like pretty good. No more than 5 pages. And it should only be longer if you have a lot to show. So like in my speaking packet, I have screenshots of like magazines that I've been featured in, testimonials. You know, if you don't have all that in the beginning, you don't want to highlight the fact that you don't have it. So just make your packet shorter. But as you get more.
That's a good point. How should you get testimonials from speaking?
Which is great for the free speaking. Testimonials at the end, I just walk up to people and I'm like, oh, did you enjoy this? And this is fine to get on your camera. Oh, can I, you know, get you on, you know, my phone, whatever. And you always want to get it like right off you get off stage and people are really excited. People are naturally going to come up to you and ask questions. Oh, I really loved your talk. Okay, I had a question about this one thing. Answer the question and say, hey, just 1 second. Did I help you? Okay, I would love if I could just get 10 seconds of you on camera just saying how much this helped you. And then do that with everyone who walks up to you in line, and then you got 5 testimonials to include on your website.
I love that. That's awesome. That's such a great idea. Okay, so do you have a couple of go-to talks you use and alter as needed for your audience?
Oh yeah. So this is great for like service providers and entrepreneurs. Guys, use your program titles as your talks. We forget about, I'm serious. Like, why are we reinventing the wheel? So one of my most popular programs ever was No Excuses Woman. It was a 21-day self-discipline challenge. So on my speaking packet, I have, you know, No Excuses Woman. And then depending on where it is, if it's in the workplace, No Excuses Woman, how women can use the power of leadership to get what they want in, you know, in the workplace. Or if it's a entrepreneurship conference, No Excuses Woman, how to build your business and balance life at the same time. Like, you know, it's the same talk, but I'm like tweaking the subtitle based on where I'm going to be speaking it, and it's all linked. I like to title it the same as like my programs and books and different things like that, because then when I'm pitching it, it's like, oh yeah, she talked about that, and she happens to have a membership club of the same name. I'm totally joining, you know, so it's an easy tie-in.
And are you, you know, I can't remember. I totally just lost the question, but it's going to come back to me. Okay. How do you structure your talk? That was one of the other.
Yeah. I like to keep it at 3 to 5 points. I typically will do 3 points. It's just something easy for people to remember. And the key is you actually don't want to go super deep, because it does a disservice to your audience, because you don't have the time to really flesh things out, and then people like leave confused. So I find that new speakers are like, you know, I want to give everything I got. I want people to really walk away with like, you know, so they go like too deep, and then people are like, I kind of got it, but I had this question about this one thing. They're scratching their heads. So it's actually easier if you, when you speak, you want to go more conceptual than you want to go how to. And you just want to get them thinking about the concept of the topic. So I'll start in with like a story or something something seemingly unrelated, but it's something that my audience can relate to. So maybe if I know I'm going to be speaking to other moms, I'll talk about, you know, a funny story about my son or something like that, that seems like it's not related to the topic, but then I like bridge it into the topic that we're going to talk about. Or if it's other business owners, I'll tell a story about when I first got started, and other business owners like, oh yeah, I'm totally there now. And then I'm like bridging it into my topic. And then I let them know, okay, we're going to be talking about this today. And I don't say like, oh, we're going to be covering these 3 points, but I might, I like to use alliteration or acronyms that people can remember. So the other day, actually, I did a talk on how to build wealth as a female entrepreneur. And I said something to the effect of women need to focus on getting their MBA, monetizing their skills, building their businesses, and acquiring assets. So I said that at the top, everybody, oh, MBA, okay, I get it. And then those are the 3 points that I covered. So then I rolled into monetizing, and I talked about that, told a story, transition, okay, building your business, told a story, talked about that, okay, transition, acquiring assets, told a story, you know. So it's really just a story at the beginning that's seemingly unrelated that your audience can relate to, bridge into your topic, come up with some cool acronym, or maybe the 3 Ps or the 5 S's or something like that. And then go through them one by one and make sure you tell a story to illustrate each one of those.
And I like that too, because I feel like it's really giving you an opportunity to brand your, you know, knowledge, brand your tool, brand your signature system. So kind of keep track of those things and make sure you're bringing them into it. And that's what I love. It really is repeating it. I think we all think we need to constantly create everything new, and it really is just putting the same stuff out there over and over. And
if you have a course with 5 modules, that's your talk. That literally the name of your course is your talk, and the 5 points that you cover are each of your modules. You don't go super in depth, but you just talk about why they're important.
Right. And I was just going to say too, for those of you who have done webinars, for those of you who have done trainings, you know, I did the first training of summer camp yesterday. You know, to be quite honest, it was the same one I did last year with some updated additional information in it. You know, I haven't done it really. I think I've done it one other time. Like, there's all new people in summer camp this year. And honestly, you know, for those of you who were in it last year, you probably need a refresher anyways. So I think that, you know, we do make it so hard, and that we feel like we have to constantly create new content or come up with something new. And, you know, I don't think that matters as much as we think it, as much as we think it does. And I feel like somebody asked, what is the balance between giving them great takeaways that allow for some DIY and leaving them wanting more of you? And I feel like you did just kind of cover that in terms of talking about, you know, the high level piece of it, and not going down into the deep details that they would be getting in your courses, or that they would be getting in their work with you. Is there anything else that you really feel makes you, like, helps you to stand out, or kind of helps you even to maybe stand out with the organizers who are dealing with speakers all the time, and kind of like put you in a good place so that they're, you know, coming back for you?
Yeah, well, you have to find your angle. So, I mean, earlier you asked about PowerPoint. Like, you could be the type of speaker where you're like, I never use PowerPoint. Like, my speeches are so engaging, you know, I never have to use that. Or my thing is, like, your audience is guaranteed to walk away with something new. Like, I always teach something that the audience has never heard before. So, because, you know, speakers, or a lot of conference organizers, they get speakers, but they're kind of like saying the same information. You know, it's like, no, this, you know, it's going to be something that your people have never heard before. So think about almost like, what's your guarantee? Like, if you had a TV commercial and it was like, I do this, I guarantee it, what would your thing be? I never use PowerPoint, I guarantee it. Your audience will walk away with something new, I guarantee it. So that's kind of like your catch-all. And then also use the success of your programs or your clientele or whatever as a reason why the organizers should hire you. So, you know, I talk about how I have a training on this topic, and I've had over 2,000 women spend their own money to go through this training, and here are the testimonials of it. I'm going to give you this talk based on this training as a part, you know, if you hire me to come into your topic. So even if you have a group coaching program and you've only had, you know, 10 women go through it, what are some of the results that they've gotten? If you're a health coach, you've had 10 women go through it and they've lost a collective of 400 pounds, or they got their blood cholesterol, I don't know health stuff, but you know, they got their blood pressure down, you know, blah, blah, blah. use that as a part of your talk. Like, you know, this is a signature system that I've had. Clients that have gone through this have collectively achieved this mega result. I'm going to speak on this topic. And essentially you're saying the people who are in your audience, you know, will have the opportunity to get the same result too.
Right. So Bethany says, since I have a product business, and Bethany's product is a skincare cream. And Bethany, it's anti-aging, right? It's like, it's to prevent wrinkles or remove wrinkles. I mean, it's amazing. I've seen the pictures. But could I base speaking topics on popular blog posts, or just stick to self-care and make sure your appearance matches your message?
Yeah, whatever the topics that are hottest that get people to want to buy your products in the first place, tailor those to the organizer. So if you have popular blog posts where people want to buy your anti-aging products, think about what were you really saying in those blog posts, and how can you structure it so that it's appropriate for this conference or this corporation or this association or what have you.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's really thinking about like, what are those complementary topics to the you know, to your product. So, you know, in terms of the self-care piece, maybe it would be more about like the aging piece, right? Like how your self-care routine needs to change as you age or something like that, to kind of, I think, give it that extra, you know, sort of like spark, because I think that, you know, that I think that it really is going to be the most important part. And I think that's also probably the part that we struggle with. So maybe find somebody to brainstorm with, like, because don't you agree? Like, it's hard to find what's unique in your own messaging and story. So if you're getting stuck with that, do you have any tips on how to really find that twist?
Well, okay, think about why people want your end result. So we talk about skincare and anti-aging. At the end of the day, why do women want to anti-age? I know me, and this, my mom has got me on like Red Nay and vitamin C because I just turned 30. So she's like, and skincare, SPF 50 skincare, you know. So now I'm doing this like whole regimen that my mom is like, you're 30 now, you need to get your skincare together. Why do I care about having good skin? Well, I want to look good when I age. Even though I'm married, I still want to be like, hey, I got it, you know, in my 40s or 50s. So those end results are clues to your audiences that you want to speak to, and like what makes you stand out. So you have women who are like, oh, I want to age well because I want to know that I still got it. Either they're single and they want to know they still got it when they're out dating, or, you know, they're married and they're like, well, I know I still got it with my spouse. Well, those are places you could speak. So are there marriage conferences that are happening? You could do a talk on looking your best throughout the years, you know, how to stay up in how to keep looking good for yourself and for your mate in your marriage or something. Or are there dating conferences that are happening? How to attract your best mate at 40 and beyond. That would be a great topic. And then you talk about different anti-aging things that you can do, or ways to stay young and fresh, and skincare routine, how that plays into attracting your partner, you know. So just think about, why does your target market want the end result of what you offer in the first place, and then use that as like where you go to go speak.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Do you guys have any other last questions before we wrap up? And Courtney also has access to a free masterclass for you all on how to get speaking engagements. And you guys can sign up for that at CourtneyLSanders.com/motivate. I'm going to post this all in the group when I post the video too. I'm going to just drop it real quick into the comments. But for those of you who are watching the replay, it'll be on the link in the description. And I think too, Bethany, like, I think, you know, talk to someone, grab a friend, and like brainstorm some ideas, because I think we're just so in our own way about it sometimes, you know. And this is a great thing, you guys too who are listening, feel free to post your specialty in the Facebook group, the pop-up Facebook group, and we can all kind of brainstorm different topic angles, talking angles for you guys. But I do think it is really important to find that kind of unique twist, because, you know, everybody, you know, talks about self-care, so it's really important to kind of target it to a group of people, or, you know, a transformation or whatever, and really focusing on those end results, and then what's unique about how you teach it, how you help people with it. I think I can't really stress that piece enough, because that's what really stands out to me nowadays. And I know I'm not always at the best at, like, you know, making my stuff look like it stands out, or, you know, giving good little twist to it either. But, you know, just really kind of having someone to brainstorm with, because it's hard to kind of see it yourself. All right, you guys. Courtney, thank you so much. Sorry, you guys,
No
for the
problem.
trouble in the beginning. I really appreciate it. Everybody, you guys make sure you grab access to this masterclass because I think it's just going to go a little deeper into some of the ways to get speaking engagements, which many of us want. And I think, honestly, if you get the opportunity, take it and then figure it out. Courtney, thanks so much. And also, you guys, Courtney, what's your Instagram? Because I know you're super active on there and always.
Oh yeah, Instagram is my jam. So it's Courtney L. Sanders.
So you guys check out Courtney on Instagram as well because she's very good at that. So if you're active on Instagram, you're gonna want to follow her and check out her info. Thank you so much, Courtney, for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.